Cloud. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm going to close out some things. We're having technical concerns here, but it should be fine. So I think. Okay. So welcome to our inflammation. Oh, I see what's going on. You can't see my screen. That would help if you could see what's going on. Okay, let's do that. So here's the screen. There we go. All right. Are most of you able to see the screen? You can see something that says inflammation, and then it has some picture of fire, and it says pain, swelling, irritation, aggravation, and annoyance.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not sure if that was Jack. That was Sophronia, huh?
Yes, that is.
Okay, good to have you. Yeah, if anyone wants to say something, I'm pretty sure you can, but you have to unmute yourself. So I may or may not ask you to unmute yourself. So today we're going to be talking about all kinds of inflammation, pain, irritation, aggravation, annoyance, swelling, confusion, irritability, difficulties with sleeping, difficulties with headaches, constipation, gas, diarrhea, bloating, all kinds of different inflammatory symptoms and conditions. We're going to be talking for about an hour. So here we go. And you can also use the chat button. I don't know if I'm the only one who's going to be going over with you where the chat button is, but it should be at the top of your screen if you're not familiar with it, and you can just chat as needed. So and I should be able to see whatever you're saying. All right. So thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking. The first thing we should do really is we should think about what would life be like if we didn't have any inflammation. And actually, I don't have a whole lot of inflammation. My life is good. It's not perfect. I mean, obviously, if I stub my toe or something, it hurts. It's not like I'm somebody special, but I was lucky to find some healthcare providers many years ago that were able to help me with my health when I was having all kinds of symptoms, which I'm likely to talk to you about also. We're going to go over autoimmune disease, thyroid disease, mood disorders, hormone imbalances, and leaky gut. We're going to go over what I call the Skolnickov method, which is the title of my new best-selling Amazon book. And we're going to go over how to get help with these symptoms. So thanks for joining us. If you have questions, you can try to chime in. Here we go. So think about what your life would be like. No, seriously think about what it would be like if you didn't have these symptoms, not just kind of. In other words, imagine if you were already doing better and you already didn't have the symptoms. Not like it's going to happen soon or you're excited about it or you'd be feeling better. But now, right now, as we speak, you don't have whatever symptoms you might have now. So let's say you're having trouble sleeping, you don't have that problem. If you're having trouble with energy, that's not a thing. If you have trouble sometimes remembering what you're going to say, or with your short or long-term memory or brain fog, or why you walked into a room or where you put your keys or something like that, you don't have it. No neck pain, back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, elbow pain, wrist pain, you get the idea. You don't have to imagine that for too long. Just do a quick imagination, and then it should really be an interesting thing. Oh, wow, we went forward really quick there. So again, my name is Dr. Ilya Skolnickov. The DC means Doctor of Chiropractic. The DIBAK means Diplomate of the International Board of Applied Kinesiology. And I'm introducing myself like 3 times. I'm not trying to be like a wise guy, or that's not that I'm like really arrogant or something. I just, we're doing a webinar about inflammation. I'm the one who's speaking, and I'm trying to make sure that everyone, if they're coming in a little bit late, that they know who I am. So to repeat what I said before, I'm an international award-winning speaker, creator, and best-selling author of the Skolnickov Method, New Medicine for a New You, which is an inflammation handbook. It goes over many of the causes and solutions for autoimmune disease, hormone imbalance, thyroid disease, mood disorders, and leaky gut. And you can get it if you want to at skolnickov.com. We're not going to talk about that too much, but it's in the chat box. our regular website. Sometimes people are not really sure what our website is. That is our website. I just put it in the chat. And if you, let's see, if you wanted to talk, I think you can, but you may have to like ask me to unmute you or something like that. So yeah, I think so. All right. So people come to our office to get help with their health because they're wanting somebody who, well, they're not, sometimes there's a lot going on, right? A lot of health concerns. I mean, I'm seeing people nowadays who are having hematomas, people are having headaches, sometimes for years, sometimes for months. We're going to talk about a person who we got rid of 36 years of headaches. Okay, so 6 years of headaches in one single treatment visit. It was a long treatment visit. I don't want to embellish the truth. It was 6 hours. I mean, 4 hours. That's really long. So we will go over that. His name is Mark Anthony Stevens. We're going to go over some of the success stories of some of our patients. Another lady named Betsy Nicholas. She had Hashimoto's thyroiditis and she was suicidal. She was going to have her gallbladder removed the day that she came in. Not the day, the week she came in to have her exam. We're going to talk about her. Cynthia Tom, who had been depressed and had a number of failed back and knee surgeries. And we got her off her antidepressants, not really quickly, but we got her off them and her sleeping medication she'd been on for 16 years. We'll talk about somebody named Arlene Cotto, who went from having Graves' disease and needing methimazole, which is a medication to slow down your heart, to feeling great without methimazole or the progesterone she was taking, and somebody named Elena Saxton, who also had Hashimoto's. Okay. So, you know, inflammation is your body's, it's like a signal that your body is trying to tell you something, that you need to change something. And you know, it's a good idea to listen to that signal. We're going to talk about the triad of health, this triangle. Oh, by the way, if you have questions, man, it's really helpful, or men and women. Okay. It's really helpful if you ask questions. So just so that we are on the right page with that, let me make sure that everybody can talk if they want to talk. It's mainly just a few of us here. That would be Janet Sofronia, who said hello, and Jacqueline, and also iPhone is not, I'm not clear who iPhone is, but you're all welcome to, you know, this is your webinar, basically. I'm doing the webinar, but it's for you that we're doing the webinar. All right. Usually when we go to a healthcare provider, we're going to somebody who does nutritional therapies or chemical therapies. That would be like a nutritionist or a medical doctor who gives prescription medication, or somebody who uses herbs like an herbologist, or a physical, you know, whoever, somebody who's giving, there's something called a naturopath, which will sometimes use homeopathy, or they'll sometimes use other forms of nutrition. And then, so that's, you know, that's a chemical form of therapy, right? Or we're going to a psychologist who does emotional therapies as an example, or we're going to a chiropractor, a massage therapist, or a surgeon to get some kind of structural or physical therapy. But there's not really one person who does all of these different types of therapies. So we're going to talk about this more than once. I am going to also be telling you a story about my father, which I hope you find interesting. It's about me too. It's not just about my father, but all right. Betsy B. Nicholas came to our office. She was, once we started the exam, she was crying and she was really upset. As you can see, she had a lot of inflammation. She wasn't feeling well, and she's not looking very happy, right? I mean, you can see from the, I don't think you can see my mouse. You might be able to, but from the expression on her face, you can see she looks really unhappy. So I told her, look, Betsy, it sounds like you're not doing well. You know, you're having all this discomfort. You have these severe headaches for about 10 years. By the way, she was taking blood pressure medication for 10 years, even though she was only 30 when she came in. And she had been having all kinds of health problems. She had Bell's palsy, so half of her face was drooping. I think you can see it in the photo. She also had trigeminal neuralgia, so she had these constant headaches. She'd taken a lot of aspirin and Excedrin for the headaches. the aspirin and Excedrin caused her to then have stomach ulcers. The stomach ulcers then caused her to be anemic. The anemia caused her to need to go and get blood transfusions. All of this caused her to be so exhausted. She was crashing her car, not too often, but she did it like a couple times into a fence. And she was just, oh my God, it was just terrible. And she'd been cutting herself too. She was so upset. So I told her, you know, like I was just telling you, that she didn't need to have her gallbladder removed the week of her exam. And sure enough, we started treating her, and she's a short little Latina lady. I guess she's about 5'4", I think. And so she lost 20 pounds. It took just a couple months, and her mood improved. Her energy went up. Her headaches went away. She started to, she got off her meds. She didn't need the blood pressure meds. Her whole life changed around. So I think you're getting the idea. Let's go to, this is like before treatment. That's what we're looking at here. And then this is after treatment here. You see how much weight she lost. She's not looking as inflamed, and she's happy. And we have videos of each of the people I'm talking about on our website. Also, if you go to reviews or success stories or testimonials, then you can go to video testimonials underneath that. I think it says testimonials, video testimonials. And then I gave you the website there in the chat. That's me, by the way. If Bets would be there. Okay. All right. We're going to be talking about our exam. Yes, it's actually called the Skolnikov Method Inflammation Exam Wellness Consultation. It's normally $300. For everyone listening, they get a huge discount. I try to be proud of the discount, but it's actually really embarrassing because, you know, I'm kind of like giving away the exam for free, but it's all right because, you know, we're still accepting new patients, and you get to find out about something completely different. So what we do is different. It's a different type of exam. It's better. It's more thorough. It lasts about an hour, not always an hour, but let's just say out of my last 4 exams, they were all a minimum of an hour. That doesn't mean that we always spend an hour. It could just be a half hour, but you know, chances are pretty high that it's going to be a little longer, and we're very thorough. So because of the depth of, you know, the depth that we go into with the exam, it's hard to schedule everyone who wants the discounted exam. So don't worry, you'll be all right if you just kind of hang in there. But anyway, we're going through the discount at the end. So my father was a psychiatrist, and what happened was one day I came home and I said, "Hey, Dad, I figured out what I want to do for a living. I want to go to chiropractic school and study to become a chiropractor." And he says, "Okay, well, can you actually make money doing that?" And I said, "Well, yeah, Dad, actually some chiropractors do really well and make more money than you do." He was a psychiatrist. So he goes, "Okay, well, that's good then." And to my father's credit, he paid for my entire chiropractic school education. But I can remember there was a lot of conflict in our conversations. I mean, serious conflict here. We'd be sitting down to eat. My brother, who's a marriage and family therapist, would really connect with my dad, and they'd have a great time talking about psychology. So I also perform emotional therapies. So I said to my father, "Hey, Dad, you know, have you ever," this is the next person we're going to talk about, Graciela. "Have you ever heard of David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force?" He's the well-known psychiatrist who talks about muscle testing in his book and how it can be used to raise a person's level of consciousness. He even developed an entire map of human consciousness. It's amazing. And so he goes, "Well, that is very interesting, son, but I don't, you know, that's an interesting theory." I said, "Oh, okay." And I don't really believe in all that. He also said, "Well, okay, well, he actually had, what don't you believe in?" He actually had diplomates of the International Board of Applied Kinesiology. That's what I am. I'm a diplomate of the International Board of Applied Kinesiology. It's somebody who has specialized skills and training and understanding the underlying causes of people's health concerns, using that triad of health, those 3 different facets, the structural, chemical, and emotional causes. So it's like I'm 3 different professions into one. Anyway, so he had diplomats of the Dr. David Hawkins, who wrote Power versus Force, had diplomats of the International Board of Applied Kinesiology right there in front of him, performing muscle tests for nearly 20 years. And he was able to determine really deep and vital things about human consciousness. So he says, how is that a theory? He says, well, I'm really don't believe in all that, but it is an interesting theory. I said, well, what don't you believe in? You don't believe that he wrote the books that he wrote that you never read or heard of? You don't believe in the muscle testing? You don't believe that he developed an entire map of human consciousness? What don't you believe in? What's the theory? He says, well, I'm really not interested in all that, but I'm glad it's something that interests you. I said, well, I thought you'd be interested, Dad, because he's a well-known psychiatrist like yourself. And he said, I'm not interested. I'm closed to this subject, and that's my final word. I said, okay, all right. Okay, no problem. And seeing as I wasn't getting very far with that topic, I moved on to the next one. I said, well, what about Bruce Lipton? Have you ever heard of Bruce Lipton, the well-known epigeneticist? He's the one who discovered how we can change our genes. He taught at a medical school for like 10 years. Have you heard of him? He said, no, son, I haven't. Well, he's the one who discovered that we can change the expression of our genes by changing our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, attitudes, and environmental stimuli. He taught molecular biology. He's pretty well known. Said, that is very interesting, son. That's a very interesting theory. I said, what theory, Dad? This guy's a highly regarded medical school instructor who taught at a medical institution for 10 years. It's not just some theory, it's epigenetics. It's the cutting edge thing. Everybody's talking about it. It's like a big thing in healthcare. How the genes express themselves can be altered. He figured out that we can change where we're at in our lives by changing our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs and our environment and how we do things. It's not just some theory. She goes, that is very interesting. That is a very interesting theory. I said, oh my God, there was this other time I showed him some videos like the ones I've been alluding to here of like people like Graciela Cruz, who came from Central America to get treated. Before she got treated, she was having trouble with her thyroid. She was having all kinds of like headaches. She was really depressed. She was drinking too much and smoking a little bit too much of, pot and stuff like that. And she was having hypothyroidism. You can see she lost quite a bit of weight. I think it's easy to see if you're watching this. And so he says, well, that's great. He watched a couple videos and he says, well, that's great. I guess it's just a matter of time before lots of people will be coming in to see you. And I said, yeah, Dad, well, you're not feeling very well. Maybe I can help you. He said, well, thanks for sharing that with me. I'll have to look into that. So he died of multiple diseases. He had a heart condition. He had all kinds of prostate cancer and lymphoma. I never was able to help him. He wouldn't let me. But I've dedicated myself to helping people with these kind of health concerns. I'm kind of upset, right? Because I was really close to my father. All right, thank you. Let's go on. All right, Cynthia Tom was who I was telling you about earlier as well. He was really open-minded and sweet. She's an artist. She has this group that meets regularly called A Place of Her Own, a group of mainly Pacific, Asian American and people who come from the East Asian Pacific and whatnot, who have had a lot of trauma and whatnot. But anyway, so she was having trouble with depression and her weight was a little bit high. She was really inflamed, so much so that she looks like it, right? A little bit also. And so she had been taking this sleeping medication for a very long time. Ambien, I think, is what she was taking. And then she had also been taking things for pain for her knee she'd had a lot of failed knee surgeries, a lot of failed back surgeries. And I told her, look, I think we can help. Let's get started and see what we can do to help you because, somebody's got to help you with these things. She was very open-minded, very easygoing, like an artist. So let's just keep going and take a look. Here, you just see the picture on the right. She lost quite a bit of weight. I guess she lost 45 pounds. She got off the Ambien. She got off the pain medication. They had her on a CPAP machine, and I'm definitely excited to say that she no longer needed the CPAP machine after we'd been treating her for, it took quite a while. It was over 4 months before we had all those results. But still, she didn't have any luck with any. She had actually had a few good results with a couple other healthcare providers, but nothing like the results that we were able to get her. That's why she was looking for someone else when she first came in. So I like Cynthia Tom a lot. She's great. That's her story, and you can hear from her on our website and that page. Okay, there's a cover of my book. It's been well received, and we'll go over that also. I'm at the College of Physicians of Philadelphia, presenting to a group of my peers here in this photo. I'm talking about autoimmune disease and skin conditions and the difference between men and women and male and female hormones. So a lot of these things are really, health is interrelated. We're not living in a vacuum. We're living in like a one, like everything's one. Like if you have a headache, the pain may be coming from a problem that's, near your head, or it might be coming from something else, a digestive imbalance or an infection you have in your foot, or it could be almost anything. It could be an emotional cause. We're going to have to go over that here in a minute. I was invited to the Royal Society of Medicine to talk about the Skolnikov method, and also Oxford and Cambridge and the London Stock Exchange, where I met Lord Nigel Farage, who developed Brexit so that Britain was able to leave the European Union and have their own British pound still without being forced into the euro. All right. That's Dr. Oz, a friend of mine. Dr. Oz would always say very interesting things. Okay, he's Dr. Oz. What do you expect? He said, people don't know about how much you care unless they care about how much you know. I mean, people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. Sorry, I got it backwards. He understands it very well. Okay. So he also would talk a lot about just healthcare being something where it's important to stay focused on how much people would care about how much your patients would care, their families and friends would care if they were healthier rather than just themselves. Like if I'm dealing with a smoker, I let them know what a bigger difference it would make in the lives of their family if they were to quit smoking, not just in their own lives. So anyway, I like him. He's an interesting guy. There I'm interviewing him. He also said, Americans are really living at only about 50% of their full potential, and they could do better. He's saying inflammation is often, in the past, the only way to diagnose it was with the therapies that we use in our office, actually, was with looking at the tongue, using traditional Chinese medicine, checking the pulse points, looking at the person's facial complexion for, liver spots, but nowadays we have all the labs. We can check for leukocytes and C-reactive protein, and we can check for all kinds of SGOT and all kinds of AST, all kinds of liver inflammation and liver toxicity and all. I mean, we can do all this stuff. So he thinks he wants to make, I know he lost the election and everything, okay? It's not funny, it's too bad. It's like he actually quit doing the Dr. Oz show just so that he could get into politics, and then he didn't get elected. So it's kind of like it hit him in the face, Anyway, it backfired on him. When I met Evander Holyfield, it struck me that he's first of all, he's very humble, extremely humble, right? And he would always say things like, life is about believing. He told me this story. I don't know if you ever heard him say the story, but he said when he was 7 years old, he already started boxing, and he had a coach even at 7 years old. See, in order to get healthier, or in order to make more money, or in order to do better at sports or anything really that's important to you, you need to have a coach to kind of work with you and train you how. So at 7 years old, he had a coach, and the coach said, Evander, one day you could become the world champion boxer. And he said, Coach, what are you talking about? I'm 7 years old. How is that possible? And the coach said, well, Evander, you won't always be 7 years old. And then he went home and he talked about this with his mother. It's like he was really close to his mother. And his mother said, well, Evander, that's true. You could, he said, is it okay if I start doing the boxing all the time? And I'd go into and get coaching, and I just spend a little more time do that. And I attempt to become a world champion boxer. And his mom said, I think that's fine. I think that's a good idea. You should go into the coach and tell him what you want to do. So then his birthday was just like 2 or 3 weeks away. He turned 8 years old, and sure enough, he started boxing, and the rest is history. You've all heard about Evander Holyfield. So he said life is about believing. He hates or strongly dislikes sugar. He thinks that sugar prevents you from really performing your best, and so do carbs, and that people need to have enough protein, which is something we're talking about here too. Okay, Dr. Sorry, I got Dr. Drew Pinsky. I got so excited doing these webinars. It's hard for me to stay calm and think clearly sometimes. So Dr. Drew Pinsky was really, really, really interesting. Also, I used to live in Los Angeles, and I would listen to his Love Lines radio show that he used to do. He was talking all about just crazy things. Like, why is he talking about all this stuff? All these people and their dating lives, and they're trying to get help with their some people had STDs, some people were overweight, some people had terrible boyfriends and girlfriends that were cheating on them. I just thought it was interesting listening to it, So he said, no matter how difficult life becomes, there's always hope. We don't let the past determine the future unless we allow it to. And he said, we can all make better decisions when it comes to our health. That's true. And our exam helps you to have all the information you need to make good decisions, because in order to make a good decision, you need to understand what's going on. So our exam, which is a big deal, helps you to get to the right starting point. Remember, I'm like the puzzle solver guy or the master diagnostician who sees what's the pattern that's happening with your health. It's not just knowing what the pattern is, it's knowing how to put the pieces of the puzzle together, fix the pattern so that it's the right pattern. A lot of people have health concerns that they go to their healthcare provider for, and you must have heard about this if you're, out and alive nowadays in 2022, just about to hit 2023. So many people are just getting treated for symptoms that it confuses them. It confuses me, it confuses them, it confuses you. A good example would be like a man whose testosterone is low. They're exhausted. They can barely, wake up and get through the day. They have no erections. Their girlfriend or wife is not happy with that, obviously. And now they're wanting to do something about it. So they start taking testosterone, and they think somebody did them a favor because now they have a ton of energy. They're having erections and everything's going great. But if you take testosterone as a male, I don't know about a female, but as a male, you end up decreasing the amount of testosterone that your body makes. So anytime you take a hormone, you have less of the hormone. So that may not be such a good idea, but then the man who takes the testosterone, nobody's going to convince him not to because he feels so much better. It's almost like, whatever. But you're only just treating the symptoms, and then you often make the symptoms worse. So not everyone remembers that Arnold Schwarzenegger, before he became the governor, he had all kinds of problems with his kidneys. He had problems with bone growths that he shouldn't have because he was using androgens. He was using human growth hormone for a while for his bodybuilding competitions. And he ended up having extra bone growths in his jaw. So he had to have a jaw surgery. He had early heart disease. He had kidney. I don't know if it was full-blown failure, but I know he had kidney disease. I'm not absolutely certain how bad it was. I think it was really bad. He was on dialysis, but I'm not absolutely sure. So there is a point to what I'm saying. Don't worry. Okay. The point is that we want to get to the underlying causes of your health concerns and not just treat the symptoms. We want to treat the cause of your symptoms. Okay. There's always a structural cause, a chemical cause, and an emotional cause. Dr. Mark Siegel said from Fox News when I met him, I talked to him a little bit and I asked, what do you think about this whole healthcare thing? And he didn't really have a lot to say. He just said, drugs are bad, cocaine's bad, steroids are bad, and they stress the heart, like I was just telling you. So it's best to have a natural life and to remain calm. And sure, I agree with that. Really interesting character, that fella. My friend Tony Robbins, he always said things like, it's not what happens to you in life that matters, but how you respond to the stresses of life. Life is happening for you, not to you. And I don't know about you, but I find it difficult to remember that sometimes, especially when the weather's, kind of down like this and it's really cold. I'm thinking woe is me, like it's so cold, like I don't, I don't know if I like this all that much. But there's probably a reason like why it's happening, right? Like what's the reason why it's happening? It's happening because I can come inside, I can do a webinar, I can turn on the heat, and I can talk to all you people about health, and that can make things more exciting. It can show me the differences between the cold weather without a lot of sun, even though it was a little bit sunny, and what we're doing here. So anyway, I really appreciated the time that I've spent with Tony Robbins. He's the self-help guru, if you're not familiar with him. So Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, you probably heard of, obviously. So Sylvester Stallone told me this whole story about how he really was dependent upon like Ayurvedic herbs and also chiropractic to help him when he was not just when he was training, but later in life as well, and more recently. And he had hormonal imbalances since he was a little kid. He used to take hormones and took them for many, many years, which, wow, that's kind of interesting, you know. And then he said that he had really bad nutritional deficiencies. Anyway, he has a whole story as to why he wrote and starred in Rocky. It wasn't just that he was the actor in it. He also wrote the whole script for it. And so he said that his inspiration for that was that he pretended like he was a boxer when he went to the summer camp when he was a kid, but he wasn't really a boxer. And then they had a real boxer come in and he fought this guy and he got really badly pummeled. So he just decided he got really badly beaten up. So he decided he'd make the whole thing into a movie, like where he's on the other end, like he's the boxer and he's really the person he wanted to be. So it's really ironic, like how life works sometimes. All right. We're just going to keep going. Dog the Bounty Hunter was a really, really interesting character. And he told me about his ex-wife who died of 4th stage cancer. He said, cancer is what happens when your body's like basically eating itself or from the inside out. It's like degrading or rotting, so to speak. I don't know if those were his exact words, but that was the basic thing that he was talking about. And he said that had his wife not had so much inflammation in her body that she wouldn't have died of cancer, but she would have probably needed somebody like myself, like who really knew a lot about how to help people with their health. He said there is a cure for cancer. It grows from the earth, but most people don't know about it because most people don't have somebody who can really help them, who really understands how the body works in a really detailed way. So anyway, he's a really down-to-earth guy. I mean, very likable fellow, and he's like a part Native American Indian too, which is really cool because he's kind of has like the sixth sense where he can spot like criminals and whatnot. That's one of the reasons why he started doing the work that he does, where he like seeks out criminals and then brings them in and whatnot. So anyway, he's an interesting character. Here's the Triad of Health that we were talking about earlier. Okay, so as you can see from this, it makes it more clear that every health concern has 3 causes. There is no exception. Every single health concern. This is an easy concept to get, but then if you're not familiar with it, it's so simple, like you kind of miss how important it is. Normally, when you go to a healthcare provider, you're going to one of these people under either structural, chemical, or emotional, right? If you have mainly like a physical problem, you might go to like a surgeon or a chiropractor, or an acupuncturist, or a physical therapist, or a massage therapist. Okay. If you have a chemical problem, you might, like a chemical problem would be, I don't know what that would be. You would think of yourself as maybe being really overweight, needing to go on a diet or something like that. The people who provide the chemical therapies are normally a medical doctor, an internal medicine specialist, a nutritionist, somebody like an herbalist or a homeopath, or somebody who uses vitalistic therapies like flower essences. And then if you go to somebody who does emotional therapies, that might be somebody like a psychiatrist or a psychologist. But there's no one person who does all 3 therapies, who has all these skills and training at their fingertips, unless you're talking about the Skolnickov method and the new medicine, which is what we're talking about. This is also a representation of what I call professional applied kinesiology, which was something that was developed by Dr. George Goodhart back in the early 1960s. Okay, anyone have any questions about this? I think it's pretty straightforward, but it's okay if you do. Okie doke, we'll keep going. So this triad of health and the Skolnikov method also involves traditional Chinese medicine and the 5-element theory. We do emotional go back a little. We do emotional therapies because any pain that you have in your body is actually an emotional experience. The emotion of pain is registered in the limbic portion of the brain, which is our emotional center of our brain. And yeah. Oh, I thought Sophronia had a question or something. No worries. So muscles are related to organs, they're related to glands, they're related to emotions. There's all these relationships. So when we can test muscles and we can test herbs and we can test emotions to see how they all relate. That's what an applied kinesiologist does. They have a whole science that's unique to talk to a person's body with. So this is all part of the Skolnikov method. And this doesn't happen in conventional medicine. This is something different, right? It's different, it's better, we get better results, it's the best, it's the coolest, okay? It's really incredible. And a lot of these therapies that we do, like for instance, herbs and homeopathy and nutrition and acupuncture have been around for a long time. Most of those have been around for many thousands of years, but homeopathy is more like just a couple of 100 years, but it's still very effective and pretty old. This is Mark Anthony Stevens. We helped him get rid of his headaches in one treatment visit. He came from Vancouver, Washington. I was just talking to him on these Zoom meetings, and he had glaucoma and the headaches, and we did a 3 or 4 hour treatment, and we got rid of his headaches. It just so happens that he had an infection in his gut, and he had this infection for 36 years. And we gave him we did the therapies. We helped him to feel better about not having an infection. We gave him some nutrients to get rid of the infection. The infection went away and his headaches went away. So I do want you to feel like it's mystical and magical, but it's actually very left brain. It was a very analytical, methodical sort of step-by-step approach. It wasn't like I was, doing anything magical with voodoo or anything like that. So Arlene Kato, I'd mentioned to you earlier, she was diagnosed with Graves' disease several years before she came in to see me, and she was in a really bad way. She couldn't even walk up and down hills without getting so exhausted. She'd have to have her boyfriend come and pick her up. She lives in San Francisco. She was like either freezing cold all the time or burning hot. When she was at her work, sometimes she would get so nervous and kind of uncomfortable with people around. She'd have to go lock herself in a closet. And she had this kind of events planning, coordinating job. So you can't lock yourself in a closet if you're dealing with people who are coming to or leaving an event. You can't do that, right? But she did that. So I guess she got fired from a couple jobs, actually, just because, you can't do that. But anyway, she was taking methimazole, she was taking progesterone. And even though it was keeping her from having a heart attack, which is good, was saving her life, she wasn't getting any healthier and she was having trouble functioning. And she was not yet on disability, but, she was like that close to getting on disability, I don't know how close that is. And so we started treating her, and really, really quickly, we got her off the methimazole, which slows down the heart. We got her off she had another, like a Cytomel or something she was using for high blood pressure, and that was causing her to have suicidal thoughts. And she never, ever ended up getting to the point where she was thinking of taking her own life, like literally, like she never took action on it, but she had the thoughts come up and she was really scared out of her mind about that. So we got her off all the meds. She got her energy back, her mood came back. She was everything was going fairly well. Her blood pressure was balanced, obviously, without the meds. She didn't have any trouble walking up and down hills. She went back to surfing, which is one of the things she really loves doing. She's able to keep her job, and she got an extra job. I guess she had maybe a couple of jobs, and everything was going better with her boyfriend, who also started coming in to see us and get help with his health. So that's her story. Elena Saxton is another person we helped with Hashimoto's. Elena had been referred by her colleague who had diabetes type 2, and she came in and she was just really, she didn't realize how bad things were because she sort of had taken a little progesterone. It gave her a little more energy. She'd seen a naturopath who had done a couple things, but she was having to take medication and progesterone, and she was so exhausted she couldn't do anything every day. She went to her job, she came back, she like took a nap, then she would make something to eat, and then she had no energy to do anything else, so she'd just either watch TV or go to sleep. And she was only 28 years old at the time, so really, really, really young, you know. I mean, it's just really sad. So we started treating her. She got off the progesterone, her energy went up. She became like this social butterfly person. It's not that she wasn't social before, it's just that she was like, she had to cancel things that she'd planned to do with friends because she was just so exhausted and not in the mood to want to see anyone. So, you know, when we started treating her, she started having all these improved relationships. The relationship with her boyfriend got better and everything got better. And all of her symptoms were gone. Anyway, you can hear her story on our website. All right. We're closing in on the on the last 4 to 6 slides or something like that. So to get help with your inflammation, definitely you want to start drinking more water. I'd recommend a good spring water. Let's see if we can practice using this chat box here. A good spring water might be like, I don't know, like something like Crystal Geyser is okay. So you could use that. You could use Aquapana, P-A-N-N-A. If you can always copy and paste what I'm putting on here into the chat box onto some kind of like a Microsoft Word or like a notes thing if you have one. Okay, so yeah, that kind of thing. You want to have a quart of water for every 50 pounds of body weight. There's something called Simply Sedona Arizona Artesian Spring Water. That one's pretty good. There's other waters, like there's Trader Joe's spring water is pretty good. Whole Foods 365-day everyday value spring water. They changed the name to something else. I think they just call it Whole Foods spring water. So I would not drink water out of plastic a whole lot. You know, the environment suffers if you do, and it's better to drink out of glass or metal or ceramic. And if it's metal, it should be stainless steel. It should not be, definitely not aluminum is my point with the metal. Okay. So Evander Holyfield had a coach and it helped him a lot. He became the world champion, undefeated, four times he competed as the world champion boxer and won each of the 4 times. I'm not sure if I know he's lost plenty of fights, but not, I don't think he lost the big, you know, title. I'm not sure about that, but I don't think he ever did. So he said, eat plenty of protein, it stabilizes you and it helps you to perform, and sugar's not so good. So protein is a hugely important thing, and most people don't eat enough protein. It has all the chemicals to get rid of pain and inflammation. They're called bradykinins and endorphins, and there's other names for them. There's like, there's other names for these chemicals. They all have lots of sulfur in them. Yeah, just eating. A lot of people are eating maybe they're eating like 3 or 4 ounces of protein 3 or 4 times a day. They should really be eating, it depends on your weight, but as much as fits in your whole hand, about 4 times a day. So if they have a lot of pain and inflammation, if they don't have much pain and inflammation, that's different, maybe 3 meals a day. I eat about 3 meals a day, but a lot of my patients need more than that. They actually need more than 3 meals a day. And it's okay if you think that's strange. Like, I'm not offended or anything. Okay, let's keep going. We're getting there. Any questions, comments, concerns from the 4 of you? Oh, Lakeisha, I don't think you were on before. Hey, Lakeisha. You can talk to us if you want to talk to us, but you don't have to. Or did I talk to you before, Lakeisha? Anyway, it's good to see you, Lakeisha. Thanks for joining. Okay. All right. So this is what we want to do. We want to help you get rid of the symptoms, the irritation, the aggravation, the pain, the annoyance. That thing on the right, that little rainbow looking thing, that's our company logo, Trident Health Family Healing Center. So when you come to our office, you'll see the logo, and then it makes it easier to know that you're there. You just look for the logo. So the symptoms, the headaches, the night sweats, the hot flashes, the hair loss, the low energy, the not sleeping well at night, the feeling especially exhausted when you wake up in the morning, or the foot pain, or the foot spasms, or whatever, the muscle spasms, or whatever the case may be. We want to go from those symptoms to feeling better as fast as we can by correcting and strengthening the organs and glands that aren't working right, and by helping with the things we were just talking about. We help you with like water and protein as an example. So we can go from the symptoms you're experiencing. Everybody's different, so we need to start with the exam. So we can't really do anything until we've done that. That's the most important starting point. It's kind of like getting all the measurements. Let's say you're really overweight and you want to lose weight. We can't know how much weight you lost unless we weigh you to begin with. So that's a good idea. By weighing you, right? Right. All right. So good. So this custom tailored and personalized program is something that we can go at your own pace. It's sort of like a little blueprint to let us know where we're at and then where we're wanting to be, which is a happy, healthy, properly functioning body. If you go back to the very beginning of this webinar where you're thinking about what things would be like if you didn't have those symptoms, really think about it, because we've now helped thousands of people with these same types of symptoms that we've been going over here for the last 55 minutes. So, the chances are really, really good that we could help you. It's not like 105%. Some people have had their whole colon removed, and it's really hard to help them. So don't take that the wrong way if you've had your colon removed, but it is difficult. All right, and that's the link. So let me. Oh no, we didn't go over this exam yet. We should get a vote on the exam. So the entire exam, it's normally $300, but just for the people who are watching this webinar, it's only $47 for a limited amount of time. We can only fit a limited number of people because of the depth of detail that we go into during the exam. It takes about an hour. If anyone has any questions, I'm going to go over a few of these things that are listed here, a few of these bullet points. I'm not convinced that I'm going to go over every single one of them. But if anyone has a question about any of them, I'm happy to go over every single one of them or talk about other things. So we do the private consultation in the office. I'm doing what I said I wouldn't do. Okay. With the doctor, I'm the doctor that we're talking about here. We do allergy testing. We do hormone testing. We do up to 30 different tests for behavioral or emotional and learning disorders. We check for nervous system disease and spinal disease. We check for nutritional deficiencies. We do the homeopathic constitutional exam, the applied clinical nutrition exam. We do the functional medicine exam, the chiropractic exam, the naturopathic exam. The chiropractic exam is basically really similar to checking for bone disease and spinal disease. We're also doing the naturopathic exam. We're doing a zinc taste test, an oral pH test, and oral temperature testing. We're doing an exam that includes the traditional Chinese medicine portion of the exam. Traditional Chinese medicine is like, it's about literally 100,000 years old. Obviously, since I do this for a living, I know all about everything that I'm talking about. Kind of like if a waiter's waiting your table, they know all about whether or not you want water or what you want to eat, or asking you about how well you want it prepared. So it may seem like I'm especially well informed, and I am, but that's why I'm so well informed about this. So with traditional Chinese medicine, it's been around for so long. It's just It's just amazing how the conventional medicine model, they discredit traditional Chinese medicine. They act like it's not a big deal, but it's a pretty big deal. Anything that's been around that long is really, it's really advanced, right? It's done. A lot of things have happened for all these thousands of years that have allowed acupuncture to still be here today. It's still being used all over the world, especially in Asia, but now also in the Western world. So anyway, I just think it's crazy the way they used to heal all kinds of people from all kinds of cancers up until the 70s. And I think it was, I can't remember if it was Nixon or one of the presidents went in and they observed people getting surgeries without any anesthesia in China. Like they went to Beijing or something. Nowadays, we hear all the only terrible things about China, but that's the government isn't so great, but it's, the culture is really interesting. So we do the herbal evaluation, the vitalistic exam, the osteopathic exam, the energy medicine exam. We're doing all these different things. We're able to learn a lot about your body by checking your blood pressure, three different postural positions: when you're seated, when you stand, and then when you lie down on your back. And so when we do that, we can learn about your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your emotional state, and even several glands called the hypothalamus and the pituitary and the adrenal glands, and most of us have heard about the thyroid gland. Okay. I think that's it. And then it includes the report of findings. That's where we review what we found during the exam so that you understand, how we're going to work together, what will be involved, how much money it'll cost, because we can't know how much. Like, here's some things that are kind of interesting. Some people are like looking for perfection, which that's kind of reminds me of myself. But this isn't perfect. Healthcare is actually about as backwards can be. And when it comes to these therapies, for instance, we can actually help most people with most things, mostly quickly, most of the time. We don't send a bunch of bills to your insurance company. We just focus on helping you. So there's a really good chance that we can help you. Whereas with most of the places you'll go, like, let's say you're having like a hematoma behind your right knee, or you've had headaches like Mark Anthony Stevens had for 36 years, or Betsy Nicholas was having all those headaches and she was getting the blood transfusions a little bit. She was taking all that aspirin. Where was she going to go? I mean, she'd already been to a lot of different healthcare providers. She hadn't really gotten a whole lot of results. So it wasn't that it was perfect when she came in, but her whole life changed around. She, did her own half-hour video of like all the things we did to help her and how exciting it was to improve her relationships and everything. So my point is, your life is important. Not having these symptoms could really make a big difference in your life, is my opinion and my strong belief. That's why I do what I do, so I can help people. I couldn't help my father. I couldn't help. There's plenty of people I can't help, but I can help most people. So that's the link. And thinking about everything. I think that's most of what we're going to talk about. Are there any people having any questions? Any people having any concerns? Any kind of anything? Any kind of
my question to you is, I mean, there's no quick.
Who's talking now? Safrina?
Just Sophronia.
Oh, hey, Sophronia. Hey.
There's no quick, like for what you call it, diagnose. Like if you take an aspirin, it take away the pain, but it don't take away the symptoms. And you're talking about taking away the symptoms, so
Right.
You don't need the aspirin. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So it is actually, in my opinion, at least, you don't have to agree with me, but an hour exam is pretty quick as a diagnosis. And then, yeah, we want to treat whatever caused the symptoms. Because when you normally go to the healthcare providers, remember, you're going to a different healthcare provider for each thing. Like if you want to get an emotional therapy, you have to go to some psychologist or a psychiatrist like my father. If you get a structural therapy, you need a chiropractor, a massage therapist, or a surgeon. And if you get chemical therapy, you need a nutritionist or someone like that. Whereas in our office, we're doing all those things. So it's really fabulous, right? It's really, we get a lot further, a lot faster. We literally get over 30 times faster results than any other healthcare provider that I'm aware of in the northern part of the state. Literally, that's 100% true, because we're getting to the underlying causes of the problems. Some people have a problem with their teeth, and they're going to me and I'm telling you, look, you need to see the dentist, otherwise we can't help you. And they don't want to hear that, but I'm telling them that anyway, and then they can get better right away after they go to the dentist. Or maybe they have the wrong eyeglasses prescription, which is not uncommon. Some people have really cloudy thinking because all the information going through their eyeglasses is jumbled. I've seen that quite a bit. So, it may not sound really exciting, but it's really effective, right?
So how do you? So I mean, wait. So I want to sign up.
Okay, great. I sent the link through the chat, and it's also at the bottom of this.
I'm on the iPhone, so
Oh yeah.
I don't
If
know.
you have an iPhone, you just go to the top, and there should be a chat there, and we're going to be sending you a link later anyway, within the next 1 day or so.
Okay.
So,
Well, okay.
the link's there. I can send it to you directly also.
Yeah, I want to sign up.
There's the link. Don't worry. I mean, you can ask me about it a lot, but so I sent it to you on the chat here because you have to get a little used to the Zoom, maybe, And I can send you a chat. I can send it to you after we get off if you want. Because I know. Do you have your name on there? What phone? Are you comfortable with giving out your phone number? Or do you want to not do that?
Oh, it don't matter.
Okay, yeah.
Call.
There's a few people.
I work graveyard. That's why when you called earlier, I was asleep.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's why. Yeah, I was asleep, and I was like, oh, okay. So I woke up. I was able to.
Okay. Well, we're gonna end here in a minute. I'm just thinking. So Jacqueline or Lakeisha or Janet, do any of you have any questions? You'd have to unmute yourselves if you do. I don't think I can unmute them myself.
Jacqueline here.
Oh, hey, Jacqueline.
Hi.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having this web. I literally just returned home from a tonsillectomy.
Oh my God. Okay.
I'm hoping that the tonsillectomy relieves some of my problems, but my original issues started with the hysterectomy in 2020.
Oh no.
And I was with Kaiser, and I left Kaiser to get a PPO, but to avoid too much, I will come in and see you personally. But what's happening is sometimes blood work, like my ESR is showing normal and everything is showing normal, but I know this is not the case.
Well, you have to look at the lab, and sometimes the doctors are misinterpreting it. So first you're looking for H's and L's. It depends on the lab company, but highs or lows. And then you're looking for things that are out of range. And then, yeah, you definitely need a healthcare provider to help. But sometimes, even if you're not a healthcare provider, or if you're just looking for that, if you see anything that's an H or an L, that means it's high or low, and that means it's not normal. So don't just listen to your doctor. I mean, get second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth opinions, but definitely, just see if you just see that on your lab. If you have the lab, see if there's any. If it's Kaiser, I have Kaiser myself, but you're not going to get very far with Kaiser. It's sort of like
I left Kaiser.
Oh, good job.
The thing is, though, but I will come in, and I would like to make an appointment to come and see you.
Okay, great. All right, good.
Yeah, so.
I'm cool.
I was giving away points. Then we get Sophronia got her points, and Jacqueline, you got your point. I think you each got 20 points each. There's like 100 available, so we only have about 60 points left here. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry to hear about what you've been through, but maybe you're tired probably is one of your symptoms, and that's something we can definitely help with. We've helped a lot of people who've had the hysterectomies. It gets a little trickier, but yeah, it's not so mysterious and complex as the conventional medicine model is leading you to believe. They're making it seem like, well, that's just how things are, or you're just getting older, or you just did this thing when you were younger and now we're here. It's like, though there may be some truth to what they're saying, but now we need therapies to help, right? It's not just, we need to diagnose first. So they might have done some diagnosing. then we need to treat with effective therapies, not just drugs and radiation and surgery. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but in our office, we have thousands and thousands of therapies. I'm not just making it sound cool. We really do have thousands and thousands of therapies. So we need the right therapy for you at the right time to get the right result. And it can't just be the same method of drugs, radiation, and surgery. It doesn't matter if there's 100 surgeries and 100 drugs and 100 types of radiation. They're still real similar because they're so unsafe. They're like really, you know, it's not safe. Surgical procedures leave all kinds of scar tissue, unfortunately, and the drugs leave poisons and toxins and toxoids in our bodies. And those things lead to a toxic burden that causes inflammation, even if it's something over the counter, you know, something simple, like something to get less, to be less itchy, like a steroid cream or whatever, aspirin. I mean, those things are still toxic, unfortunately. So anyway, okay, great. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you in the office, and thank you for being brave enough to share with everyone some of your things you've been dealing with.
Thank you so much, and thank everybody that's listening, because this is been a really difficult journey, and I hope that you can help me.
Yeah, we're gonna help, right, by doing things differently. We want to get to the right starting point, like I was saying before. We want to understand what happened back before you ended up needing to get the hysterectomy that would have led up to all the challenges with your reproductive system, excuse me. What would have happened, you know, any therapies you've done that have been helpful, any therapies you've done that haven't been helpful, any therapies you might have done that worked for a while and then stopped working, any labs you've done. I mean, we're just going to do a different type of exam. We do a different type of health history to find out what happened throughout the course of your entire life that would have made you the Jacqueline Turner that you are today. We don't want to do the same kind of things you've been doing. We don't want to do the same kind of labs, and our therapies are different. Yeah, so you're welcome. Yeah, I've been doing this. It's been quite a few years. I've been studying these therapies and helping people, and just thanking me is a nice thing to do. So thanks for doing that. So, okay, if there are any other questions from Janet or anyone else, great. We can always go over it later, because I think we were going to go for an hour, but since we started really late, it's been an hour and 11 minutes. So we should probably stop. So thanks for joining again. I was excited to get you all this information. You already know, my name is Dr. Ilya Skolnikov, the clinic director of Trident Health Family Healing Center, and the international award-winning speaker, best-selling author, and creator of the Skolnikov Method: New Medicine for You, New You. That's our new book. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right.
Okay. Bye. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Hang in there. Bye.